I have another stupid video for you today. So if you don't know by now, Create Originals re-released the CRS frame, their suspension frame that was out of the market for a few years, but they brought it back and they gave me my own signature frame. If you haven't seen the release video on that, I'll link that up here and in the description down below. So definitely check that out. But there has been a lot of questions about the frame since it is a relatively new product. So I went on Instagram, asked what questions people had, and I'm going to answer them for you right now. All right, first question here. Love the color scheme. Any story behind the choice of colors? Well, if I wasn't going to have a regular black or white frame that I normally skate, I figured I'd go all out. There are many different color frames out there on the market, but not many companies have taken advantage of having different color axles, so I wanted to do that. I got inspiration from this Nike ad for these blazers that was pretty much white, khaki, and like a maroonish kind of color. I liked it a lot, so I try to implement that into this frame. I also figured that if it had red axles, people could utilize them in different ways by putting them on regular black or white frames just to add a little pop to their setups. I had other ideas for a cool color scheme for a product, but maybe we'll save that one for the future. Another one about colors. Will there be more colors soon? As of now, only black, white, and tan are available. I'm not sure whether they have plans, but I'm sure if they sell pretty well, there's going to be other colors available in the future. Have you tried them? Anti-rocker. I haven't, but I know other people who tested them have with positive feedback. But I feel like a frame like this you want to utilize to its maximum potential, and I feel like you get the most out of this frame riding flat. So I personally have only ridden it flat, so I can't really say from experience how they are anti-rocker, but I have heard good things. Do they feel similar to other frames? Just to make myself an idea of what to expect. No, they don't feel like any other frame, which is my favorite part about them. I think I did a decent job explaining how they feel and what they actually do in the original Create Originals video launch. If you haven't seen that, again, I'm going to link that up above and below in the description. But just to quickly go over some of my favorite benefits, they help with shock absorption, everything from large gaps to landing off a little curb. They also help you turn quicker, and you can customize the different harnesses of urethanes to accommodate your style of skating. And it overall just gives you a more comfortable ride and reduces that shock on your joints like your knees, ankles, back, and helps you skate longer over time. Definitely check out that video if you haven't seen it already. What does CRS stand for? CRS stands for Custom Ride System. So the original launch for the CRS frames by Create Originals showed a lot of different ways to mix and match the hardnesses of urethanes, which I spoke about before. So you could ride all hard urethanes if you want. You could ride all soft urethanes if you want, if it's better for your weight. You can mix them up by doing hard urethane on the inside and soft on the outside so that it gives you kind of a banana rocker feel when it breaks in. What I used to do was I would have the third spacer hard and all the other ones soft. So it kind of pivoted on the third wheel, similar to like how a wizard frame would feel. So there's a lot of different ways to get different feels out of the same frame. Does it make you a better blader instantly? Yes. How is the ride height compared to the original? Well, according to the Create Originals website, the original OG frame is 45 millimeters tall and the CRS frame is 48 millimeters tall. So there's only a 3 millimeter difference in height from these to the original frames, which isn't much at all. It does need the height though, because it needs space obviously for the wheels to move up and down. So that's why they're taller than the original frames, but it's not by much. Does it have a spring or something? No, there aren't any springs. The wheels just individually move up and down via these urethane spacers. Any less wheel bite with these opposed to regular Creates? As far as I know, it's the same groove that's in the original OG Create Original frame. So there's no wheel bite protection like some other frames might offer. But in my personal opinion, wheel bite protection doesn't provide a good grinding experience. I feel like wheel bite protection on certain frames kind of limit how good the frames actually lock and feel on ledges and rails. So I never prefer a frame with wheel bite protection anyway. That being said, I've ridden flat on these frames as well as the original OG frames for many years. I've gotten wheel bite maybe twice in my entire experience in these frames. So it all depends on how you ride. Everyone skates different, but I think that these are an excellent flat frame. Does the suspension help with toe/heel rolls? I wouldn't say it necessarily helps. I feel almost no difference doing heel or toe rolls from CRS frames to regular non-suspension frames. Maybe there's a science behind it, I don't know, but in my personal experience, it feels the same to me doing heel and toe rolls with these frames compared to other frames. Frame lengths per size. Any weight restrictions or recommendations on bushing harnesses for 200 pounds plus? Let's see, the small CRS frames have a 244 millimeter wheelbase, and the larges have a 264 millimeter wheelbase. That's according to the Create Originals website. As far as weight goes, I'm 145 pounds, and I've rode the soft and the hard urethanes. In my experience, I would say that the soft ones are just too soft for someone of my size. So 200 pounds plus, definitely go with the hard ones. The soft ones, I would say, are more for maybe smaller children or just smaller people in general. I'm 145 pounds. I would say anybody under like 130 pounds, maybe go for the soft ones. Anybody heavier than that, go for the hard ones. And if you're curious to try it all, get them both and even like mix and match them like I was talking about before to try, see how you get these to feel perfect for the way you skate. Here's a good one. Are they worth it? I ordered 2 sets so I can have a flat setup along with my anti-setup. Well, thank you for ordering 2 sets. I think the best way for me to answer this is to tell you that every time I switched off CRS frames to ride a regular frame, I instantly would do one trick and miss the CRS frames. It's like everything you do from like when you put your skates on, you stand up and you take 1 or 2 pushes, you instantly notice a difference that you're not on CRS frames again. And the same with like grinding a ledge at a skate park to warm up or a P-rail. You do it and you land and I'm like, oh, I really feel that in my legs compared to when I had the CRS frames. So I definitely think they're worth it for that. You're gonna notice a huge difference when skating. Hi, they look amazing, but isn't it a bit expensive? The CRS frame does cost more than a traditional frame, but this is a premium product. The original CRS frames a few years back were cheaper, but they were also made in China, which came with a few drawbacks. Firstly, it compromised the quality of the product. I've tested so many iterations of this frame over the years from the manufacturers in China, and now currently they're made in the US. So the quality now is much higher than the Chinese frames that were made a few years ago. The first time I got a set of frames that was made in the US, I picked them out of the box and instantly noticed a difference. So you're paying for quality now. Also, the world is just expensive now compared to how it was 10, 12, 15 years ago. That's just with everything in the world now, not just skating. Pretty much it's a premium product. It's not going to be for everybody, but it's totally worth it. Are they better than the old Fiziks frames? It's been a long time since I rode Fiziks frames, but I do remember the first time I ever tried CRS frames back in like 2012 or whatever. The first thing I thought about was riding Fiziks frames because that was the only thing to compare it to at the time. I did remember them feeling very similar to the way that they reacted with bumps in the road while you're skating and everything like that, but they were much lighter, which was a huge plus. With the CRS frames, there's no rocker arms, there's no extra axles going through the frame, so there's no extra hardware, metal or plastic going through the frame to add more weight to how much a frame weighs on its own. That's one of the great things about CRS frames. It's simple technology, but it's effective and it works great. Can we see the internals? Well, it looks pretty much like any other frame on the inside. The main difference is that the spacers are a little larger than regular spacers. But like I said before, there's no rocker arms or anything else inside the frame. Everything that makes these frames special happens within the spacers and these urethanes, which you can clearly see from the outside. Will I be able to do roof drops again in these? Probably, but do it at your own discretion. And tag me in it if you do. I want to see that. Wheel size and profile recommendation / preference. Well, I'm riding flat, and I recommend with riding flat with any frame that you ride at least 90A or harder and a round or bullet profile. Flat profile wheels on a flat frame would give you more wheel bite than a round wheel would. And also the round profile wheels and bullet profile allow you to maneuver and turn faster, which is part of the benefits of this frame. So like I said before, I like to take full advantage of what this frame is capable of. If you put a nice round profile wheel on that, you'll feel it that much more. Me personally, I ride the hydrogen wheels. They're 60 millimeters, 92A. To me, that's a perfect flat wheel profile and harness, and I've rode many sets of those wheels on this frame and it works perfect for me. How hard or easy are they to assemble? They do assemble slightly different to other frames. The main thing is just getting the urethane on the spacer. So this is pretty much what the urethane piece looks like here. And pretty much you just put it on the spacer and pop them in like you would any other spacer on a frame. The Create Originals guys are gonna make a video on how to assemble the frame step by step and any tips and tricks that they learned on their own throughout the process to help anybody out there assembling their frames when they come out. So keep an eye out for that. Can the urethane wear out and create left or right wheel tilt or wobble? The urethane does break down over time, but I'm talking like a long time. Anyone who's ridden old or vintage wheels before knows that urethane in general just kind of breaks apart over time, but I'm talking like probably 10 years plus. Many times I've ridden the same set of urethanes and just swapped out the frame chassis itself, so they outlast the life of the frame. Definitely you can use one of these in multiple sets of frames you have. As far as having like right or left wheel tilting, I guess, or wearing it uneven, I've never had that in my experience. I know everybody skates different, but I've never had that. And you could also, if that was an issue for you, they're all symmetrical. So if, say, the left side of your frame wears down more than the right side, you could rotate them like you would rotate your wheels and just flip it and kind of even it out that way too. All right, cool. I hope I answered all your questions. If you have any other questions, I guess ask me down in the comments below and I'll try to get to as many of them as possible. But for now, if you're interested in the CRS frames or supporting me in purchasing my signature CRS frame, I'll leave a link to that also down in the description. And if you want to see more stupid videos like this, be sure to subscribe.